I'm Sali Christeson, the founder and CEO of Argent. We are a women's workwear brand with a mission of removing barriers for women. And I'm a sports enthusiast, NBA specifically, so I'm excited to be here.
Okay, so Sali is being very modest. She's a sports expert. An analyst. And I know you're thinking, okay, so Sally's on the show. I want to know what her takes are. Before we get to Sally's takes, I'd like to tell everyone a story about how I met Sally. I'm going to let her tap in as well. But it was, oh my goodness. The moment I met Sally, it was maybe 5 days before the world shut down during the pandemic. We met at the Tory Burch Conference in New York City. And I had just left ESPN maybe 3 weeks before. And you walked over to me and started talking. And you were like, hey, you want to grab lunch? And for whatever reasons, your warmth drew me in, because I am not, anyone who knows me knows that I am not a person who's going to have lunch with anybody that I don't really know. I'm like, no, I'm too busy. And we hit it off, but we didn't know the world was about to shut down. It literally, I think it was March 11th when the NBA said, we're canceling the rest of the season. And I believe I met you probably 3 or 4 days before then. Do you remember?
I remember meeting. It's funny that you say that you wouldn't just sit down with anyone, because I was thinking about how close we've become and how lucky I am tonight. You're like one of my favorite people. I'm so excited to be here.
It was meant to be.
It was a feeling though that we both had. And there is something to that. You either connect with people or you don't. I mean, that's just life. But there's like magic that happens when I'm in your presence. So yeah, I vividly remember meeting.
It was easy. Mm-hmm. It was really easy. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember why we were at the conference. Women were gathering and doing things, but I felt like, oh, I like her. And then we just stayed in touch. And here's the thing. I will be honest, you probably were better at staying in touch than I was, but when I was locked in, I was locked in. So that's the kind of person I am. I'm a slow burn. You got to let me get there. You know what I mean? I talk with my hands too.
I think I tend to be a little male, where like I will just drop in with random questions every couple of years. I don't need to see you all the time. I don't need to interact with you. We're just friends. If we get along, we get along.
Yeah.
Not everyone's like that.
It was a very important time too, because I do remember during the pandemic, it was a racial renaissance, if you will. Mm-hmm. There was so much going on, and there were a lot of the words that were the buzzwords that were being thrown around were, who are your allies? Who can you talk to? What other women, in my case, who don't look like you, who may have not known your story? Can you really depend on them? Can they speak up for you? Can they understand, if you're part of a marginalized group of people, what you're dealing with? And this was around George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery. And there were so many intense conversations. And the world at that time, since everything was shut down, felt as if there was a learning, a relearning, if you will, of what was existing. And I don't say this often, and you won't take this away. You'll understand what I'm saying. But it's really hard, I believe, to use that word ally and friend when we are in mixed company. I can't say that every white woman I know gets me, understands me, appreciates me. It doesn't mean that all white women are wrong. It's just like you have to really have an understanding. And throughout our friendship over the years, because it's been some time now, it's about 5 years since our anniversary. Is today our anniversary?
It's oh my God. Stop.
It's March.
It's around right now.
11th.
Yes.
It's around this time.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary. Moments. And you have been good to me. And I want to say thank you. And I think that oftentimes we don't know, we can get caught up. We can have our own bias. We can feel a certain way about a group of people. And you have always been an example of, no, I depend on you. I think you're a good soul. And so I thank you for that.
Thank you. The feeling's mutual. Yeah, I think I am fortunate to have grown up in South Carolina and had exposure to just, a lot of different walks of life, because I also spent summers in Turkey. And so given that upbringing, I think I'm grateful because I saw a lot, good and bad.
Yeah.
And it's sort of shaped who I am, I think.
You grew up in a small town.
Tiny.
10,000 people, one stoplight. How many stoplights?
One stoplight.
Oh, really?
10,000 people. Not even joking.
I read that and I'm like, is that true?
Yeah, right off I-95 in Hardyville, South Carolina.
How does that feel? Like when you think about how you grew up, does it feel nostalgic? Does it feel simple? Does it feel, of course it's nostalgia, but how does it feel to you now, living in the big city?
Yeah, it feels like a lot of things. I think I was made for a big city and I just never knew that. I miss this like solitude of farm life and just being out in the wilderness and not being attached to technology. But I feel so at home in New York.
Yeah.
I struggle to reconcile some things about my childhood in terms of, I'm Muslim and grew up in a predominantly white school in Savannah, Georgia. And I remember when 9/11 happened and just all the comments that were made, but not you. Mm-hmm. So I think that's also shaped my perspective. So I think there's a lot that I miss, but there's a deep appreciation for what I learned from the experience and how much I understand where we are as a country right now because of the exposure that I had. Just for context, there's like a cut through if you're driving down I-95 to get to Hilton Head, South Carolina. It's Coosawhatchee. But my entire life, there's been a billboard that's the Confederate flag that says never forget. And those are the types of people that I was raised with and had exposure to. Not everyone, obviously, but I think it really has helped me understand how Trump happened. And I also understand some of the magic that exists within these people and just the ignorance at the same time, So and I had exposure to, plantations and all these things. So I'm really grateful for, I think I'm really grateful for just having been raised there and the point of view that my parents offered, which was definitely much more progressive and liberal.
What was that point of view?
My dad is probably the most open-minded, kind, lovely human being. He moved here from Turkey when he was probably about 26, 27. So it's been like 40. He's lived here now longer than he did in Turkey.
Okay.
Grew up with nothing. He has 9 siblings, shared a bedroom with all of them, didn't have running water, superstar mom, like the best grandmother in the world, no longer with us. And then my mom grew up where I grew up. Same house, same place, same everything. Been in the South her whole life. The family has been in the South their whole lives.
How did your mother meet your father?
She went to Turkey after graduating from college, and they were doing a study abroad trip, and they stopped through this bazaar in Turkey, which is where my dad was working. He worked there starting at the age of 5 selling water. Saw my mom and asked her out, and she was like, "That's okay. I'm good."
Yeah.
And then
I'm all set.
Yeah. No, thank you. And then he saw her again, mailing a letter at the post office, asked her out again. She said no the second time. And then the two of them ended up going to the store that he worked in. Or sorry, she and her friend went into the store that he was working in. And he, in cahoots with the tour guide that had been leading them around Turkey, decided to ask them out on a double date. And so my mom went out with my dad, and her friend Nancy went out with Tunç, and they had the time of their lives. They finished their trip. They went around the rest of Europe. They my mom ended up moving back to Turkey.
Wow.
For a year. And my very traditional grandfather, as you can imagine, was not happy about this. And this is a man that probably would have voted for Trump if he was allowed to, wrote these scathing letters to my dad, send my daughter home, blah, blah, blah. Eventually, a year later, they ended up moving home to North Carolina, which is also where we spent some time growing up. And after a couple of months, ended up getting married. The other couple, Nancy and Tunç, ended up getting married 40 plus years later, 47,
I love this.
46, 47. They're both still friends, see each other, married, both of them,
Oh
kids,
my
both of
goodness,
them.
what a true love story. This needs to be a movie.
I used to tell the story as if it was normal. I'd be like, yeah, and then they met, and obviously she moved in with him, and obviously moved to
None of
this
this is
foreign
normal.
country. None of this is normal. I know.
None of
As I
this
got
is
older,
normal.
Yeah.
It explains so much, and I hate that I just now know that story, but it gives me such a better understanding into your heart. So your father and your mother really, really are, for lack of a better term, trailblazers in the way in which they approach this love. That's just not normal. For people in this day and age, we're so selfish. It's about what us. They were like, we will have this love. Your mother's like, I'm moving to Turkey. He's like, well, then let's move back to South Carolina from Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
It's out of this. Okay, so excuse me, friend. Excuse me. I didn't know you had some soul sister up in you, fully up and through. You all are all over. This is wonderful. I find that most people who are well traveled usually have such a different perspective of the world. And obviously when you're exposed to different things. I read that when you grew up, you wanted to work. You wanted to, like, you were very into working. And you got your first job when you were 14 or 12?
Yeah, it was 13, 14. I mean, I was selling things since I was born.
Yeah, I know. You were selling piggy banks. You were painting people's face. You've been an entrepreneur, which I appreciate. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So you've always had this spirit, but there was a woman in your town that you admired, I guess maybe her work ethic. Can you tell me a little bit about her?
Miss Becky. She was this like powerhouse. She's kind of like Dolly Parton adjacent, if I had to describe her. Mm-hmm. She owned the Video Junction. She was always opening new businesses. She opened a restaurant called the Cripple Crab when I was in high school, and 8th grade going to 9th grade. And I went down and I applied everywhere that would take an application, but I was too young. And then she ended up hiring me, paid me under the table to just be a hostess, but a little bit of everything. It was my first real work experience, and I loved it. Mm-hmm. It was this seafood restaurant right off the interstate that people would stop at on their way to Florida.
Okay. And you just loved it.
I love working. I love people. I love...
Where does this work ethic come from?
I have no idea. Probably my dad. My dad sold rugs my whole life. I would follow him around. I'd go to work with him. I'd have lemonade stands out in front of his store. I would go into people's homes. And so I had exposure to sort of all walks of life through that. And I also watched how people treated him, some very kindly and very warmly, and some there was like a hierarchy, and you could sense that. And so it was just again, like I'll say this a lot, I just feel very fortunate because my mom, I haven't talked enough about her. She's also so strong, so powerful, like takes nothing from anyone, like she just doesn't, she's a very strong woman.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just remember going to work with him and then playing work, for lack of a better description.
Wow. And then here's the thing. I used to want to wash the dishes when I was a kid. I used to think that was like such a thing. I was like, Mom, I'll wash all the dishes. And she'd be like, okay, go. And then when I really had to do it when I was a teenager, I hated it. But that was my thing. Like if I were to tell you what I was going to, I was the traditional little girl, tea parties, let's wash dishes. Where's my easy bake oven? Like all the things, my Barbie doll sets. And it's so interesting because that's such a part of who I am in terms of like, I don't necessarily like to cook, but I am very girly in that way. You know what I mean?
There was so much magic in the boredom for us.
Yes.
That kids don't have now.
Yes.
And so
too many things.
It's so many things. I really hate that my kids just have this like expectation of immediacy.
Yeah.
And for us, like we had to entertain ourselves.
100%.
So, and I'm on a farm. I don't even have people. I don't have access to people.
Oh my
gosh. I had an older brother and that was it. And so this is really where my love for sports came from. I grew up, we didn't have cable. We had 3 channels, and I would stay up super young, 5, 6, watching Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, Hakeem Olajuwon, Reggie Miller, all of them.
Wow.
And then we did have a basketball hoop, so I'd go out and play 5-on-5. I was obviously on the team with Reggie and Michael and
course,
Scotty.
Of course.
You
scored the game winners.
Always.
It was always up to you. Listen, I just saw my grandmother a couple of weeks ago when I'm in LA. She's 95, bless her heart. She's the reason I'm in sports, bless her heart. And she says to me, I was shooting 3-pointers before they were a thing. I said, tell me more. I was like, everyone's stories of how they were superheroes on the court really do entertain me. So you got the game winners. Mike passed the ball to you? Did Elijah Wan pass the ball to you?
Always. And I'd go head to head with Patrick Ewing, and I'd always make the shot. And then those rules those games you'd play where it's like I have to make 10 shots in a row before I go in. I have to make 10 free throws, whatever. Your hands would be dirty because the ball's picking up the dirt from the ground.
I loved it.
I loved it.
I love you for that. Did you play basketball in high school?
I did. I started playing sports in Hardyville, downtown Hardyville, when I was probably 4 or 5.
Okay.
And I would play on my older brother's teams, and I'd play with the boys. Mm-hmm. And so that was really fun. That
makes you great.
Makes you great.
This explains your tough exterior. You're explaining so much because you playing with the boys. They don't take it easy on you. Not at that age.
No.
They just are like, whatever, we're all playing. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what was your position? Like right now, if I started a new WNBA team of professional women who just always played basketball in college and in high school, and I said, Sally, I want you to come off the bench. How would you feel about that?
I'm a great shooter, so I'm going to be not your point guard because I'm not great with the ball, but I'd be a great shooting guard.
Okay, okay. I'll take it. I'll take it. Sally, I will take it because you're pretty tall. How tall are you?
5'8", 5'9".
Easy money right there. Easy money. When you think of the world that we live in right now, was there ever a time, and by the way, we're not 100 years old, but was there ever a time where you thought women's professional sports would have this much attention, this much fandom, if you will, much interest?
It's funny because I didn't think about it because I was a fan. The league WNBA was formed when? What year?
1997.
Yeah, so I was 12.
Yeah.
And that was normal to me. And those players were celebrities to me, or whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
I also grew up in a place where I didn't even think going to games was a possibility. I didn't think that these people were put on a pedestal and they're on these Got Milk ads and that was my world. But I also was, I think, learning so much from the sport too that has shaped me in my career now. Mm-hmm. And I think that it is part of the reason that I have such a great work ethic and wanted to work, because you see how hard it is to achieve greatness like that.
Consistently.
Yeah. So I think my point of view is that women's sports has always been a big deal.
That's so wonderful. That's a beautiful thing. But obviously you're in the minority and people are just now in 2024, 2025, 2022, if I'm being honest with you, just now catching on. These last 3 years have been amazing.
I think this is the argument though for representation in what you do. You're a woman covering women's sports and you've oftentimes had to go head to head with some of these male talking heads and figures that are trying to speak with authority to women's sports, which they haven't paid attention to ever. Exactly.
Forever. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the reasons it's so important to have that diverse perspective.
Yeah. I think when I think about, the world that we are in, and it's not, this is where I do find our intersections. I think that some of there's studies that show women who are entrepreneurs usually have played sports. They have some sort of sports background. It makes sense. And I also know that, I haven't watched you build the company, but I know as the company was, in its early years, 2020, I remember what you were telling me it was, because I think you guys started in 2015. 15.
We launched in 16. Sorry, I started working on it 15.
And to see where it's, it's special. Argent workwear is not a thing. It's a community. You've created a really, and I don't want to say that it's elite because you're so open to all women, but you have a very specific quality of women you are designing for, that you are addressing, that are a part of that seem to be a part of this community. How would you describe them outside of, and by the way, most of these women, I'm sure if we went down a list and asked would they play sports, I'm sure they did, right?
Yeah, there's some stat that 90+% of C-suite women in corporate America played sports, which is fascinating and not surprising.
Of course.
The entrepreneur statistic is also unsurprising because it takes resilience and grit in a way that I've never endured. Like, it is just so intense. You're facing rejection at every turn. You're being told that your idea is not good from, inception.
Yeah.
And you're experiencing gender inequity in more glaring of a way than I feel like presents itself anywhere else in society.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even have access to capital. And like, capital is everything in the startup world. So in terms of, now I forgot what the question was.
I was just like, you have created something really special. And the women in the room are, I'm happy to be in community with them.
Thanks.
They're very, who's not even just who's who. Look, Hillary Clinton, former First Lady Hillary Clinton, she, started to wear yours when she was with the Barack Obama administration. She was like, was she your first big, like, I'm wearing Argent?
She didn't start wearing Argent until 2017. January 2017 is when we met. Yeah, I'll start by saying the women that we dress are the reason that I do this. The mission of Argent is the reason Argent exists. So the origin story is that I read a study that showed that women are judged based on appearance. Mm-hmm. And that study quantified the impact of what you wear on your bottom line over your lifetime. It's really significant. And I had experienced shopping for work as a pain point myself throughout my career. It's insane. Like, how is that still, an overlooked category? And it's a massive business opportunity. But the driving force for me to actually quit and start building Argent was born from the experience of being a woman in corporate America and all the conversation happening around women, but none of it really moving the needle. And I think I saw an opportunity with the brand to really give women tools to navigate their career and connect them, because there's so much power in connection, and men do it all the time.
All the time. They do it on the golf course. They do it everywhere, and we don't do it. And you know what you do? I don't even mean to cut you off. You know what you do? You have no room for cattiness. You love it all. You love everything that a woman is. If someone says she's a bitch, you're like, I love it. Yeah. If someone says that she's a boy, you're like, I love it. If someone says, oh, she's too much, I love it. Every tall, skinny, short, not whatever shape, size, color, you love it, you embrace it, you encourage it, you dress them. And I'm just like, this is wonderful. You don't get to see it. And you're like, as I said, Hillary Clinton, Meghan Markle wore your jacket the other day. I can go down the list. One night I was on CNN and just about everybody on the panel had on Argent. You know what I mean? Like, it's everywhere. Mm-hmm. When you see what you've been able to build and the women who have embraced this community that you have built, how does that make you feel?
Oh, $1 million question. It's so hard because, and this is how you want me to be, I'm always looking at what's next.
Oh.
There are very few times where I've been able to sort of sit in an emotion and acknowledge and appreciate what I've been able to accomplish. Mm-hmm. One of those moments was when Doris Burke wore Argent as the first woman to ever. I remember. To ever cover, it was a men's finals, I think in general, but it was the Celtics. Who are they playing?
It was the woman, a first woman to do. She was doing play-by-play. She was
covering the game. What do you call that? Commentating.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was, and she was the first to do a finals game, mm-hmm. and it was the Celtics. Was it Nuggets? Who did they play in the finals?
I don't. This past Celtics played in the final. It wasn't the Nuggets. Who did they play? Jay. I'm gonna have to put that in. I don't know, who did they play this year. You know, I'm anti-Celtics. You know that, right? I'm a Laker fan. I can't even remember what they.
Who was it?
Okay, yeah, we're gonna took up Dallas Mavericks. Yeah. It was in the 2024 NBA Finals.
It was Dallas. Mm-hmm. Wow, I have no recollection. They just they handled them so. It was like 5 games or
Dallas.
Something. Yeah,
it was Dallas. Yeah. Good for them. But that was a moment for you with Doris Burke. Yeah.
Yes, I remember sitting on the subway and just kind of sobbing. It just made me really emotional.
Wow, that moment made you.
That moment broke through for me. I don't know why.
Not Hillary Clinton. Not the Duchess. Not whomever else I've seen. Name the list. Insert humanitarian here. That didn't do it for you, huh?
Of course it does. I mean, dressing the women that we dress, and a lot of the women that we dress aren't household names, but the work that they're doing just like gets me so excited. So I think I'm just obsessed with work, as we've established, and women that are doing the job, and oftentimes in a really thankless way.
Yeah.
And so I think my motivation is like, how do we equip this woman? How do we give her confidence? How do we become part of that journey in a way that enhances and is additive? How do we bring these women together? I think Doris broke through for me because it was this point in history and it was being acknowledged and celebrated. And
it was intentional.
And it was an intentional choice for her to wear Argent as well.
Yeah.
And so that means so much to me. And you have to understand that like what you see is not what it's like behind the scenes.
Yeah, of course. And you don't try to make it feel exclusive. You're very I mean, I can tell you a story. You don't even know about this. You do, but we were on a group chat and one of my friends said, there was this, and I don't want to get into the particulars, but there was this woman who was going through a severe court case and she needed help, and they wanted to dress her, and they were just like, who can give her a nice suit? I really want to kind of put her in a position to win. And immediately the first thing that we said was, you should ask Argent, check in with Sally. And without hesitation, absolutely, how can we help? Without hesitation, and I'm not saying that you walk on water and you're perfect, but when I say you are accepting of all and you understand the struggle and there is no judgment about who is this person, oh, I'm going to gatekeep, you can't wear Argent, I don't know who you are, even though you could be well within your right to do that because of the list of women who are in your community, but you refuse because you're open to everyone. There's something that is also, to me, that's a very activated, activist, philanthropic spirit that you have. Thanks. And it is a reminder of why not only I call you an ally, a friend, but just a really good soul. Like Thanks, a really good soul. And it comes across. That's why you have success.
Thank you. Yeah, it's I want Argent to succeed because we are building, like we're increasing our ability to platform women doing remarkable things and our ability to support women that deserve to be supported. I think you were talking about this earlier, but it's a result of the patriarchy that women have been pitted against each other since the beginning of time. And I'm not saying there aren't problematic women. Of course there are, but all women just deserve an equal chance, period. And anyone who is harming the cause is probably someone I would say no to. So that's an exception. But I just don't have time for them. And I don't think that it's worth any of us paying attention to those women. I think the focus has to be on how do we give everyone equal opportunity and, that men have, and how do we focus on some of these societal constructs that really disadvantage women versus staying small.
That was a classy read. I just don't have time for them, and I would probably just tell them no. But I'm just about raising awareness for women who are making a change. That's called a classy read. I don't have time for y'all. If y'all simple, no. The doors are closed. But if you want to change the world, come on. Let's do it in whatever way we can. Small, big, large, however we're doing it. I think that when I think of you, this is one of the words I'd use to describe you. Competitive.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, what a compliment.
It's a huge compliment. And I know obviously now it's your sports background. If you had to compare your personality to anyone who played basketball, who would it be?
Ooh. What a question. So this is too basic of an answer. Steph Curry comes to mind immediately. It's like that confidence,
Really? Why? Tell me more. Steph seems very affable and likable, but when he's a killer, he's a killer.
That. It's that. And I think I've had this conversation a lot with folks where it's like confidence can be read as arrogance, and I'm like, no, but confidence is necessary at that level of sport and in business. You have to bring that. And it's delusion at times for me, where, these things that we set out to do, we don't always maybe get 100% of what I strive to get, but we accomplish really remarkable things because I've dreamed up these scenarios, and then maybe we get option B, but it's still incredible. I don't know how to articulate that.
No, you're like, I dream big. There is no limit. And if we fall within that range of what I want, it's even bigger than I've even really truly imagined.
Yeah.
And does that describe Steph for you?
I don't know. I'm going to be thinking about this all night. That's too basic of an answer, I feel like, but I feel like he's a kind human, I feel like, from what I read.
Yeah, he is.
Read in terms of what I see.
Sure.
And I think that he will take the back seat as needed for his team to maybe like a Brunson does this. He doesn't need all the accolades.
He is, yeah.
And he'll take a pay cut, for example, to ensure that they have the right team. It's about recognizing that it's not about individual, it's about group.
Mm-hmm.
I personally am not comfortable being out in front of the camera. That has come, I've been pushed, I would say, and it's kind of necessary because generally people want to see the founder. They want to connect with the brand. They want that authenticity that comes with that. And it's good for the brand, and I'll do anything for Argent.
Yeah.
But it's not where
you live.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like Brunson doesn't need to be the center of attention. He comes from, especially going to Villanova, comes from a background of where he is used to being a part of a team that isn't flashy. They just get the job done. You know what I mean? But they're good at what they do, but they get the job done. And if you need me to be the star, I'll be the star. Yeah. But that doesn't have to be the first thing that I am. Yes. You know what I mean? I don't relish in the must-have attention. He moves that way. I could see why you would say that would be your NBA personality type. I'm Kobe.
I was going to ask who's yours.
I'm Kobe Bryant. 100%. In every aspect, in every possible way.
That tracks completely.
It tracks completely. Mm-hmm. I am, I wouldn't call myself a gatekeeper, but Kobe's like, I can't trust you because every time I give you the ball, you don't deliver. So I can't be around you. If you're not in the gym before I get there, then I don't know who you are. How can I bring you in? And I've seen you haven't done what needs to be done. And what are your motives? Do you want to win a championship or do you want to look good in the process? There was this very famous video of when Kobe was on the Lakers. I think it was probably 2011. He's only been on the Lakers. But he wasn't playing. He was out and he was injured. And some of the players were they were being interviewed afterwards, and they were jumping all around and being silly, and they were all dancing in the mic and, being just, having a good time. And they had only won like one game over the last 5 games. And he was on Jimmy Kimmel. Actually, Kobe may have been on his way to retire, and now that I think about it, but he was on Jimmy Kimmel, and I'll send it to you. And Jimmy Kimmel goes, "What do you think of this?" And he played the video. And Kobe just turns around and looks at him, and he doesn't answer the question. He was like, "Next question, please." He was just so put out by how their shenanigans and how silly they were. And the Lakers hadn't won a championship, and they were being he was just like, what are we doing? We're here to play. This is not about attention. And I love that. And there's this video of Kobe. I posted it recently during the anniversary of God bless the dead, may he rest in peace, where he's with Gigi. And you see Anthony Davis coming over to talk to him. And Kobe made a face. And I didn't say anything because I'm not going to, that would be inappropriate on my part. But all the comments are like, Kobe didn't fool with AD. Kobe didn't like AD. Kobe didn't trust him. Kobe didn't think he was a killer. Kobe, like, you can just tell, are you cut from the same cloth? He had the issue with Shaq. He had the issue with Dwight Howard. And sometimes Kobe could be the problem. Because he didn't understand that you need to, as Rick Fox said, you need to make us feel like you need us. You got to bring us in. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, Cari, it's not just one person. So that's why I feel him, flaws and all. You know what I mean? Yeah,
totally. I mean, the Luka videos are also incredible. I love watching Luka play.
I love watching Luka play. What did you think about that trade?
I think I've told you this. I'm now exclusively served NBA content on Instagram, which was not the case before. It used to be a healthy mix of like politics and a little NBA and like a little fashion maybe, and current events and culture and whatever. But now it's all NBA all the time. I mean, that trade is...
What do you, I didn't think it was real. I thought it was AI. I went to several sites. I had to reconfirm and confirm. And then I thought, well, what's the problem?
So that happened the night after. So I went to the Knicks-Lakers game.
I remember.
And then that trade happened that night.
And what did you think?
And I thought, lucky LA, great for Luka. The owners in Dallas just are doing it for money. That's the only explanation that makes sense. They didn't want to pay him whatever they were on the hook to pay him.
Yeah.
And maybe don't have a love of sport.
They don't like. Look, you're a business owner. Was that a good business decision?
No.
At the end of the day, don't you pay he's 25 years old. You pay the kid.
I'll say I don't know enough about the business of basketball, but and I know that contracts have gotten
exorbitant.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I mean, what a gift to the Lakers. What a gift. And Luka, talk about players that you see or something. Like he just has like a bit of an attitude that I definitely have. There's something in him that's fun to watch where he's just kind of like pissed off a little bit at all times. There's this chip on his shoulder, which I think it resonates so much with him, which is why I love watching him. He also, there's a woman that works with him that does such a great job with his brand. I forget her name. I should know this.
I don't know her.
Yeah, there's a woman that has worked with him, I think, the entire time he's been in the league. And I feel like they've just done a really good job with his brand. He's very likable. I think that's going to be a great move for him. I mean, it is a great move for him.
That trade will go down as
the worst trade in history.
It'll be the 30 for 30 of why they, one, traded him, two, then lied in front of the camera. Jason Kidd sitting there like, I wasn't a part of this. Don't bring me into this. And then 3, the intention to talk bad about him or put out these stories that he's not really in shape and his habits bothered people because he smoked hookah, whatever the case may be.
What a gift for him. If you said that about me, I'd be like, game on, baby.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's how he responded.
Of course.
No matter what, though, what it did, and I'll ask you this as a business owner, what it did was let everybody know. It put everyone on notice in the league. No one is safe.
I think that's good. I think that's a good outcome. Look, go back a few years when the players were calling the shots.
Yeah.
That's not great. Like, I think that there are some GMs that deserve so much credit for just knowing their craft so well. Sam Presti is the best example, I think. I think he's such a good GM. OKC, time and time again, has just built these teams.
Slowly but surely.
Yes. And like, they're always the afterthought for folks, I feel like, OKC as a market, but it's a great market.
It's a great market.
Great teams. And the players should not have the power, all the power. The players should have some power. They shouldn't be abused, but I don't think that they should call the shots because they don't have the same priorities as the business owners and the team, and they don't have the long view always.
Look, once the inmates run the asylum, things go crazy. I agree with you. There needs to be some level there needs to be balance to that. Your Sam Presti comment, I do agree with him, but I always wonder, and this is another deep 30 for 30, how do you have a team with James Harden, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, Serge Ibaka, Kendrick Perkins, and they took the Lakers to the conference finals, beat Mike Kobe and Lakers and company, and then they start to lose pieces slowly but surely. I always wonder, how do you do that? How did it get to that point?
Oh, what a great team. Though. What a great era of basketball.
It was a great era of basketball.
I think you were dealing with some of the most difficult personalities all in one team, though. You had, I think, from what I have gleaned just as a consumer of basketball, you've got Harden, who I think has,
Yeah. They
Durant,
and you had to manage
Westbrook.
those egos. You did.
Yes.
I liken them to the first Seattle Seahawks team that won the championship when Russell Westbrook was the quarterback. They had Richard Sherman. They had the Legion of Boom. Remember I don't know if you're big in football, but there were so many big personalities, and everybody wanted Bobby Wagner. Everybody wanted to be paid, and I remember talking to one of the vets on the team. He was like, "This won't last." Having a dynasty is so difficult to do, especially in football, because there are so few games, but also in any sport, if you want to say that. If you want to be consistently great, it's just so difficult to do. And you're right about OKC. I couldn't even imagine them. We don't have the access that we have now. We don't know much about the players. We didn't know much about the players as much as we know now. But I couldn't even imagine knowing KD, in terms of how he presents himself on the court, knowing all of those people. You're absolutely right. If that was your team, imagine having a team, and I mean like this for your business, superstars that work for you currently, but it was hard to manage those personalities. Would you get rid of them one by one? Or how would you decide to handle that? I
mean, if you look at the team now, Presti wins. Like, the team is excellent. Okay. And to me, it's like one of the best teams in basketball. I just don't think you can be short-sighted, and you cannot be attached to one player or one team. You have to have the long view. The business is the priority as a business leader, but taking care of your people and like making sure that you're cultivating, the right community and culture and connections, and I'm not great at this. Like, it's challenging to be as busy as I am and make sure that everyone within the team is taken care of and that we're taking the time to all connect, meaningfully. But I think what you also have to recognize as a player and as an individual is that there is no single point of failure, and that everyone is replaceable, which is hard to say because we have a rock star team right now. Like, we've never had as good of a creative director. We've never had as good of a marketing team, and every individual on that team. Like, our team is the best that it's ever been. Wow. But you have to be pragmatic about it. You can't be emotional about it, and you have to look at it as a business, and people are going to leave, and you kind of learn how to manage that and sort of roll with the hits. Yeah. You're prepared for it. Yeah. Yeah. You, as a business manager, you're just like, our business leader, you're thinking, okay, it will happen and I'll have a plan B. Do you have a plan B? Do you have a way to go when it happens? You immediately know what to do. You go right into replacement mode. I mean, would love to see Dallas's plan B right now. Because they don't have one. I do feel bad for Nico Harrison, though. Like, that's a tough position to be in because it's not his call exclusively. I think that the owners influence that so much, and he's really been the fall guy for this. Of course, but they've made some really bad decisions. Then you decide to play Kyrie Irving till you can't play him anymore. You run him into the ground, and then of course he gets re-injured, and you're thinking, I mean, none of that makes sense. None of what's happening makes sense to me. Not business-wise, anyway. It's heartbreaking. Kyrie is heartbreaking. It's also sad. I'm glad at least he got a chip. Like, his relationship when he played with the Cavs with LeBron was really strained. And after he was like, I don't want to play with LeBron. It's hard to play with someone like LeBron. He will be the center of attention no matter what. He will do all the things, and he will be him first. And it's okay. But he's also on the court a very selfless player. But off the court, his basketball IQ is through the roof. They say he knows everything. So he's going to really, to coach him has to be difficult. To be a teammate with him has to be difficult. And this is no slight to LeBron. It's just what happens when you're dealing with someone with that type of generational talent. Is he going to play again next year? I hope so. Seeing what do you him think? Play, what do you think? One more year is what I feel. You want to give him one more year? 22 sounds good. 22 years sounds good. I mean, he ran in front of us. He had the most remarkable play against the Knicks, and he was screaming, "This is 40." Can you imagine? No. Can you imagine? But your articulation of how he is exactly right. I actually told Dave, my husband, this. Like, I don't think he's like the guy I would want to play with per se. No. I love it for Luka though, because I think that there's some reverence and like respect there, and that LeBron has an appreciation for what he's going through, and he has the experience to speak to it, and he's had his ups and downs, and so I think that that's going to be good for Luka in the long run. Yeah, the age difference is good. Agreed. Yeah, and there is this. You are LeBron. There is this
reverence. You're right that he needs to give. And LeBron, one thing LeBron doesn't mind doing is reloading and recruiting and reloading. He doesn't mind that. Like, come play. I can learn from you.
We saw the Pelicans game. I feel like they've like really hit their stride.
Yeah.
We saw the Pelicans game. Luka's a funny player because he just like my favorite players typically are like Derrick Rose at his peak and like Jalen, both of them, Jason Tatum and
I love Jason.
Jason Tatum's my favorite player. I have a bobblehead of Jason Tatum in my office. I love him so much. But that bounce that Luka doesn't really have. Yeah. But then you look at the stats and you're like, what is even happening?
When did this happen?
Totally. And his vision for like his passes, like being on his team, you have to be on your toes at all time. Yeah. All of that to say, the two of them are really looking great together.
I love it.
But the Celtics look even better. Sorry.
So you're saying Luka and LeBron look good together.
Yes.
And then you're saying the Celtics look better.
Can I say that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Hot take.
It's hot. No, it's fine. I think it puts a little divide in our friendship since I'm such a diehard Laker fan. But no, I mean, I love you. It's almost like the USC UCLA thing. I'm going to embrace you. I'm going to love you as is. When I ask you about what player is very consistent with your personality, I'm curious. Argent has been known to dress a guy or two. Who would you like to see in Argent?
Russell Westbrook.
Why?
Is that wild? He has great style. He's so fun. He's I think he's really sweet at his core. I really love Nina. I think he could just pull it off.
Isn't it interesting how time changes things? Russell for so long was quiet and we didn't know much about him when he was in OKC. And then when he started to be the main player, I think that was a growing pain for him and for fans, right? Because there was mixed reviews about how people felt about him. And then he came to the Lakers and he had, so much, people were just so mad at him for very many reasons, none really legitimate. And that was the very first time that I saw him as a vulnerable being and talking about how much it really bothered him. But I think it bothered him because that's home. LA is home. So you grow up watching this team, you finally get to play on the team, and now you have to deal with all of this vitriol, which is horrid. And he plays with a chip on his shoulder. Nina, to me, is... I call her, I said, you remind me of the first lady. She was like, well, since you said it. I said, well, tell me more. She goes, we are both the same zodiac sign. And I don't remember what it was. And I was like, I feel a lot of Michelle Obama around her, a lot of peace, yes. A lot of calmness, a lot of she's very self-assured, right?
I think that she, how do I explain this? I think that she adds to my opinion or enhances my opinion of him. Yes.
If you picked her, that says
correct.
Everything about you.
And I love him. I think he's been through a lot of
ups and downs.
Yeah, and a lot of it unfair. And
fair. That's very fair.
Yeah, and he's I think had a really fraught relationship with the media as well.
Yeah. His choice.
His choice. Yeah. But I saw him once at LAX. I actually missed my connecting flight because I was just so excited.
I love this.
But he was talking to every single person that worked in that airport because he's a hometown hero, but he had time for it. And that really, I think, I already loved him because he is that profile player that I love. He's bouncy. He's got a lot of energy. He's making, crazy things happen. But he had such kindness, and I think there is a kindness within him. So absolutely. Yeah, and he's got style. So to bring it back to Argent. He has
such great style. So you would dress him. What would you dress him in?
Oh, goodness. I mean, I think that we'd obviously have to do something custom, but something loud.
Yeah. I think he could wear a pink power suit.
I do too.
Right? I mean, like I could see him with some white sneaks and a pink power suit doing the thing. I could totally. One time he had on this all red outfit when he was playing. And when Barbara Walters was alive, she happened to have on a red outfit. And some photographer caught them and they put them side by side and said, who wore it best? And I was like, Russell wore it better than Barbara Walters, obviously.
So, yeah, so fun.
Yeah, so I can see that. When you look at front offices across the league, because you are a fan, who runs the best front office to you? Who has the best front office outside of, you might say, you could say Boston. I mean, since you like them so.
I think I'm probably Boston. I think It's what now? Brad Stevens?
Yeah. Who was the coach. And
yeah,
now
yeah.
he's the
And I loved him as a coach, and I love him, and I think that's a good move. I think some of the players, were there predated his move to front office, but I mentioned this earlier. I'm a Sam Presti gal.
Okay, so you like their front office better.
I mean, Rob Pelinka though right now deserves
I was gonna say, how do you like this is just the latest move Rob has made with the Lakers. Like there's been some moves that since Rob has been in charge.
Right?
Yeah, we've been very unhappy with Rob's moves as a fan of the Lakers. We've been like, that didn't make sense. There were opportunities for us to get DeMar DeRozan. We didn't get DeMar DeRozan. We wanted, he was another hometown hero we would have embraced, who still had enough. That he went on that year to play so well and was an all-star for the Chicago Bulls, and that was the year we could have had him. And people were very disappointed in Rob for not making that happen.
Yeah, I feel like Rob lucked into the Luka trade.
I absolutely think that.
Now,
and can you tell us in the exclusive, you bumped into him and you told him he lucked into it? How'd the conversation go?
So I shared this with Cari. I'm in Soho just yesterday, and I'm with my husband, and I just see the back. He's just very specific. He has very specific look and style. and so I just saw the back of his head, and I was like, that looks like Rob Pelinka.
Or Rob Lowe, because he looks like Rob Lowe too.
No,
like
too,
in a
too
little
tall,
bit.
Too tall.
Really?
I don't know Rob Lowe, but too tall.
Look at you.
It was like that was him, and then he turned, and Dave was like, "How on earth did you just spot him?" So then I said, "Congrats on Luka." And he just kind of mumbled thanks. And I told you this, but I'm like, in his head, he has to be like, who is this crazy woman? And also it feels good to be seen, he is.
What made you say congrats on Luka? I know I see so many people, I'd be even terrified to say anything to him. What made you say congrats on Luka? That's how big of a fan you are of the sport.
I don't say anything to anyone. There are people in Soho all the time. He's not like a celebrity at all, And I feel like generally athletes like being recognized by women that they don't really expect to hear from.
I agree.
And so
I agree.
I'm a little looser there.
Oh no, yeah, your emotional intelligence is very high on that. That is true. But it stops them in their tracks. They're surprised. Mm-hmm. Interesting. And so he said, "Thank you."
He said, mumbled.
Did he tell you anything else about any other moves?
Mumbled, "Thank you." No, I'm like, what are you doing in New York? And stay away from my Knicks, Unless you're giving us Luka, then back away. I'm pumped about the Knicks right now. I just, to bring it back to basketball because I just want to stay there.
Yeah.
But it's been so fun living here and getting the chance to go to MSG.
The Knicks are looking good.
And such a fun team, and they would benefit probably from a Giannis. If I know that's rumored to maybe be a possibility.
If Giannis came to New York,
he should consider it.
Tell me if you agree with this theory. And people get upset when I say this, but I think every superstar deserves a big market. I think every superstar deserves a big market because they deserve to play where they can really understand their power, what it feels like, get the proper attention. I just feel like they do. That's because I grew up in a big market, so I'm really speaking from a very narrow perspective. You grew up in a very small town, so you would probably have a different perspective.
I do.
But business-wise, tell me what you think.
I disagree because I think that don't sleep on the small markets, and this is the same for Argent. It's like we had an event last week in St. Louis, and they're so overlooked that there's just this fervor that comes from them that you don't get out of the big markets because they're spoiled. Mm. And so I actually think it would be fun to be, really name any team, but like a Barkley on the Suns or like I think it's probably fun to be Giannis on the Bucks because I think that in OKC, I think has a similar fan base. They're just some smaller towns that are known for being really like super fans because I think they get so little.
Yeah, they get overlooked. Mm-hmm. They get overlooked, as you said. Okay, also, when you do have superstars in smaller markets, those markets become the markets to visit. You find yourself, I went to, I'm like, why am I in OKC? We were in OKC all the time, or if you think of, you can't say that about Golden State, but in the beginning, Golden State wasn't a destination. You know what I mean? Like people, and you love your twin Steph. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
Klay Thompson, that was my guy.
Oh, was he really?
We used to live in the Bay Area when we would go to games when they were both rookies and nobody wanted to go to games. They were so bad. And that's a really specific fan base. And so we used to get tickets all the time and go watch them play.
Mark Jackson was the head coach then?
Oh, Mark Jackson does not get his flowers enough.
You know,
that man.
He does not. I remember my first 2 or 3 years on First Take and interviewing Steph. Steph had such a baby face, had on these baggy jeans, and it was All-Star in New Orleans. And we were like, well, what are you doing here? And then Mark jumped in because Mark was on the set. And Mark goes, once again, he was snubbed. I'm telling you right now, I got the best backcourt ever in the history of the NBA, and no one gives them the respect that they deserve. He referring to him and Clay, Steph and Clay. And at the time, I said, Steph, wouldn't it be great if you were an All-Star? He said it would be, but I'm just going to participate in the 3-point shooting contest.
That's me. That's me. I feel seen.
Should we call this podcast Steph Curry joins Argent? Argent and Steph Curry join the Naked Sports. I'm working with a name here. Something about Steph is in the title.
We got to work Tatum in now.
We got to work. You have a choice. You have a choice. And you got to play 2-on-2, and you only can take one other player. It's you and Steph, or you and Tatum.
Tatum.
Okay, so Steph is not. He's not. So Tatum's your favorite player.
Tatum's my favorite player.
Steph is your personality.
I think so. I'm not Tatum. Personality-wise,
okay.
I just love him.
Okay, so you and Tatum taking up.
So fun to watch too. So good.
You enjoy him.
His build is great for his wingspan, like everything about him, and just how effortless and bouncy he is.
Yes, you use. Okay, it's so interesting. You keep saying bouncy. I love that you use that term because that's actually a really great term to describe. I remember you mentioned Russell Westbrook talking in his heyday. To me, he was the most competitive, the most athletic player, and I loved to watch him. Name drop coming. Please ignore this name drop. And when I was at All-Star in Toronto, I was very fortunate to talk to Michael Jordan. And I said, who's your favorite player in the league right now? With not even blinking, he said, I'd pay money out of my pocket, because normally people give me free tickets, but I'd pay money out of my pocket to watch Russell Westbrook day in and day out. Top, hands down, my favorite player.
Okay, that's amazing. And also, I love to hear that for Russell Westbrook, because I feel like he just does not get enough of that.
He's another one. He's another one. We can go down a list of people who don't. And so what I gather is you love those players who are great, but you also really have a special affinity for those who you think have not been able to shine or get enough shine.
Probably.
That is you.
Oh, you know what? That's right. Tatum, Curry was that for a bit, but Tatum has that too, where I can't tell you, I've been in countless rooms. First of all, being a female sports fan, you experience gender bias like right off the bat. Oh, that's cute, but I'll be talking to our guy friends, and they've been so dismissive of Tatum because they couldn't clinch the finals and he's struggled to show up.
Sure, as they all have.
But he's young, as they all have, and he's young, and I'm just watch him soar now. And so to watch him win last year, and then to just watch their continued growth and success is so exciting to me. So yes, I like people that are like perceived underdogs of it.
Yeah,
I have that.
Okay. I when we think about the finals, I do remember this moment now that it's coming back to me. We had a brain fart. Jason Kidd tried to pit Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum against each other. Do you remember?
Yes.
Remember?
Yes.
And he was like, I don't know who's the superstar. He was saying all these things, and then they came right back in the press conference and answered, I'm proud of Brown. I'm proud of Tatum. Like, he's my, like, they refused to let him get in their mind. And I thought that was brilliant. Do you remember?
Now you remember. This, of course. Yes. Now I remember. It just wasn't close at all. So I don't even think of, I felt like the Celtics.
It wasn't even real competition.
Correct.
Yeah. Congratulations to you and the Boston Celtics. I'm proud of you all.
I have a friend, Rebecca Gray. She's a celebrity stylist, lives in LA. She and I went to the game together last week. It was Pelicans Lakers. And she and I are similar. And I think women are like this. I'm going to speak to how our fandom works.
Yeah.
I'm not really I don't have an attachment to a team, a little bit to the Warriors, but I'm a player fan. And I think women do this. Where it's like I like to pick certain players that I just root for.
Well, yeah, you have to do that. To me, this is why the WNBA is taking off. If you know a single player and you know their storyline, you're invested. Now I want to know who's playing against them and what team is that, and why does she not like that player? Or why does he not like that player? And what is the history between the two? And the next thing you know, you're a fan of the entire league and or sport, depending on where whatever you're watching. That makes perfect sense to me. It's not like you have to know the ins and outs. There are things you probably know about certain players that I just don't know. I'm like, I didn't read that about about them. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah. From a business perspective, to switch gears, I am curious to know more about future of the NBA because I've now been doing this deep dive into NFL. I'm not as big of a fan of the NFL, but the business of the NFL is so massive and they've been so strategic. And so, but yeah, I think that's
interesting. So you look at the way they do business and think about how you do business.
I think so. I think it's like it all goes together. There's something with sports that's obviously very adjacent to business, culture, politics. Like there's so much overlap. I mean, that's why this podcast exists, like there's just, but I think that there's so much to be learned from one another as well. But I'm just sort of a business enthusiast. And so if you look at the history of the NFL, it sort of defies logic that it's where it is now. In some ways.
I feel that way about your business. It defies logic.
Great, Cari.
Not in a bad way, but it's just like you'd overnight to me, not to you.
Nope,
you're
10
like,
years.
You're like, I'm not an overnight success, honey. But when people say that about when you first step on the scene, you're like, I've been at this all my life. But to me, and I don't have the words yet to describe it in a way that really can quantify what I've been able to see. But when I think of what you've been able to accomplish and how you are married and how you have kids and how you have relationships, friendships that you nurture, and that I'm like, when does this woman sleep?
I do not.
Okay, you don't believe in it, huh?
I've given up sleep. Not proud of it. No, it's really exciting. I mean, it has been a 10-year overnight success.
Yeah.
It's more energizing and exciting right now than I feel like it ever has been. It has been for the last few years, but right now in particular, just given all that's happening in the world, we stand for something so clearly, and that's for women. And feel like we can show up for them in this moment when there's an assault on our rights. And that's something that I'm finding joy in at a pretty bleak time.
But you're saying it in a way, like if someone's listening, it's like, well, how does a clothing line do that? You have created that. That's why I said it defies logic. If I think of a clothing line and I think of the ethos or what it represents, I would say that. I think that there have been some key moments over the last couple of years that you and I have been able to agree on. And obviously we weren't happy with the outcome of the election. We really weren't. But when I saw you prior to the election, I saw you maybe a few days, a week before the election at maybe in August. Michelle Obama's When We All Vote.
She knew. She
knew then too, but she did the good work, right? And you and I were able to have our kiki because we're silly. We have a lot of fun moments together. And I think that you underestimate your magnetic personality that is, let me give you these flowers, that is understated and simple and effortless, but it's magnetic. People are drawn to you. Like if we spend 2 minutes talking to you, we are drawn to you. Black, white, purple, green, tall and short, all of us. And it is an authenticity that and you keep this pleasant demeanor, but I know that, you're Steph, you're a killer. You shoot from the logo. You know what I mean? And I know that and all of that is wonderful because that makes up who a lot of us are. And some of us are afraid to show all of that. And you live in this ease of that is me. But I still don't know how you do it all. Like I just look at you, I go, I don't know how she does it.
I feel the same about you. I feel like, I mean, look at all that you do. I think about this too. You're one of the people that I think about more than most.
I feel like I'm more tired than you. Like I feel like you should be extremely more tired than me. Like I look at you and I get tired. I'm like, when do you take a break?
I think I've found my purpose. Like I really love what I'm doing. I've been confident since birth, and my parents have always said that. And so I think I've witnessed a lot of women that don't speak up for themselves, or, society, even like to me as well, there were so many things that you just internalize that are said to you. Girls aren't good at math, like this, that, and the other as you're growing up. And so you kind of second guess some things. And now that I'm on the other side of it, I want to raise awareness as much as possible and be, hopefully impact careers and women's careers and what they ask for and what they raise their hand for, and ensuring that like we control so much of our own happiness, and it's a lot about mindset and perspective, et cetera. And so if I'm going to be employed by someone, you're lucky to have me. And if you don't, and I'm going to show up as my full self. And if you don't like that and it doesn't work out, like it's your loss and that's the best outcome. But I'm not going to show up and not speak up and speak my mind.
Oh,
But I want everyone to have that. Like, women deserve that so much. We are constantly shat on. We've all been through so much gender inequity. It happens every single day. And so I think that, like, I'm a person that's comfortable to call it like I see it, and I'll call it to someone's face. And so if that helps influence a woman or a man to behave differently in the future, great. That's how I want to use my
Listen,
gift.
You preach to the choir. I'm like, well, where is the plate? Can we give her some sort of tithe and offering for preaching? Okay, so Pastor Sally, before I let you go, Deaconess Sally, before I let you go, they say women have several careers. There are several jobs that we have throughout our lifetime. Literally, you might be a pivot. It may be adjacent. It may be an entirely new career. And I know that you were in tech, right? And now you have this overnight success that happened in 10 years, this overnight success.
Real quick.
Do you see a world where you would run for office? From my understanding, I know that you love policy. But do you ever see a world where all of this passion that you have to make sure that women are treated fairly and our rights and to restore our rights in so many different ways, do you see yourself leading a different type of cause outside of Argent? Very kind question.
I can see myself doing a lot of things. As I've mentioned, hate being in the spotlight. It's actually my nightmare to think of being a politician. I do think that is what's problematic about our current situation, is that a lot of women are not raising their hand because we've made it dangerous to be a politician, especially as a woman. And we're not getting representation that's reflective of America right now. And that's really unfair and unfortunate. There's a whole litany of reasons as to why that is. I think for me, my cause is women, always will be women. I think there are ways that I can influence that. It won't be in political office. I don't know what's life after this. I'm like, this is the happiest I've ever been at Argent.
Yeah. I just wonder if you ever, because you're saying I'm always looking ahead. I wonder if something will come out of nowhere and you're like, well, maybe not.
No, definitely not.
Or maybe I'll try that.
I'm an introvert.
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
Outgoing introvert.
Yeah, but yeah.
Would you ever run for office?
No.
I'll turn it on you. There you go. Thank you.
Never. I'm right there with Michelle Obama. I'm all set. I'm like, I won't do it. I won't do it.
Quick story, and you should probably cut this, but when I did see her, I was like, I'm optimistic about our chances, and she was silent. And it's like one of the just bleakest memories that I have from the lead up to the election, because I think like women especially were hopeful.
Very.
I was hopeful.
Yeah,
I
was
think
hopeful.
Hope is progress. Like, it's great that we were hopeful.
Yeah.
We're getting one step closer to being able to imagine a woman in office. The reason that it's been such a hurdle for America is because we can't imagine a woman because
leading.
We've never seen it.
We've never seen it.
And so I think, that doesn't go away just because we elected a narcissist, sexist,
all the ists,
most deplorable, ignorant failure of a human.
Yeah.
As much as they want to keep women in a traditional role, I just think that it's already out, and that progress doesn't go away, and we're going to continue chipping away at like all the, the gender inequity that exists in our society. So I'm actually like hopeful, defying all logic and odds right now. But I think that the pendulum will swing in a pretty extreme way back towards women in progress.
If Michelle had said nothing when I said, and I would have said that to her, I would have then had a bit of a warning and it wouldn't have hit me so hard. But now that it's all said and done and we're hearing the stories in the postmortem, we're hearing that, a lot of people knew it was going to be a long shot. I wish we would have known so that we could have tried to correct. I wish that would have became more public than us thinking, white men for Harris, white women for Harris, and all of these, or actors for Harris and athletes for Harris. All these groups are coming out of the woodwork. We're like, this is our momentum. This is our time. Mm-hmm. And I think, and look, who knows? It is what it is. We are where we are. But I think that, to be honest with you, I think Barack and Michelle knew early on.
They did. I agree. Yeah.
I think that, and that's what started the divide within the party.
Despite all of that, like it wasn't a blowout. It was the difference of 200,000 votes across 7 states.
Yeah.
30+% didn't even show up to vote.
Yeah.
And I am certainly an optimistic person, but I also think that humans are generally good people. And so I think it's really easy to appeal to fear and
yes. Weaponizing fear is
dark.
Yeah.
And it's what they've done, but people are going to react when it affects their pocketbooks, and it's already happening, and we're seeing terrible, terrible approval ratings. So I just, to me, my role in this is to ensure that we show up for the women that we dress and that are in our community or whoever needs support. It's about continuing to show up, continuing to use our voices, and continuing to do it together and alongside the men who are allies.
We're going to keep doing it. And I'm feeling fiery. I think after the election, I was tired. I took that cape off and made it a blanket and went to bed. And I was tired. But now I'm back. We're back. Sally, thank you so much for being on this podcast. Do we need to know of anything that Argent is up to so people can support? Do we need to promote anything?
I just have to say thank you for having me. This is my actual dream, as you know. I'm really sorry if I went on too long about the sports piece. I love it so much.
No, I don't even think I asked you enough questions about sports. We didn't, but I honestly, here's the thing. The reason why I do what I do and I still speak up in sports in a way that makes me know that I refuse to let someone take my voice away in that arena, because they will try to make women feel like they don't know sports. How many times do I hear when I first started in sports, you don't know what you're talking about. Then now that I work at CNN, just stick to sports. You don't know what you're talking about. And it's so funny because quite frankly, I know a lot more than the average guy who is telling me, be quiet. I'm like, let me give you the history, son, while you're telling me what you don't know. Or we know the actual player you're talking about. So when I'm listening to you, I'm like, she's like most women, intelligence. She's just being smart about it. So yeah, I love it. You were great.
Thanks.
Do you want to do a sports podcast together?
Are you kidding?
I think we should do a sports podcast, like a couple, like a spinoff, like 6 episodes, 6 or 7 episodes around the finals. What do you think?
Cari, if
that's
this is real,
smart.
this is recorded. I'm going to take it.
I'm serious. We should do that. We should do 6 episodes around the finals, depending on which 2 teams are in the finals, and we should do a recap after every game. If it goes 7 games, we do 7. If it goes 4 games, we do 4.
I am so in.
Okay, it'll be just a recap.
Actual dream.
It'll just be a recap. We'll watch it. We'll watch the game and we'll talk about it.
Great.
Okay, that's it. We're done. We're doing that. It's called a special NBA Naked Sports with Sally. Special guest Sally.
Forget Argent. That's my.